So the task for today is to upgrade my home server. I'm going to do two things. One is replace the system drive, because the system drive that's in there is quite old, and I figured it would be prudent, since I was doing an upgrade anyway, to change that round to avoid any problems. And then the next is to add in an additional 6 terabytes of space. So it'll be mirrored, so I've got two 6 terabyte NAS drives that will go in there because my existing, these are two mirrored, so it's 8 terabytes in total, 2 mirrored 4 terabyte partitions, and I'm running a bit low on both of those. One's kind of data, one's kind of media basically. So I'm going to add in the additional drives. This is a Xeon system. It's relatively low spec actually. It's 24 gigs of RAM. It's a Xeon, I think it's a 1246, so it's something like 4 cores hyper-threaded, 3.4 gigahertz, something like that. And then this is a just an LBA hard drive controller, which can take up to 8 drives. So these two will go onto there, that will go onto the system, and we'll replace that drive there. I'm going to use Clonezilla to clone the hard drive, which is quite straightforward, and then just expand it, because this is bigger, so I'll just expand the root partition to use up the rest of the space. So I'm hoping this will be a relatively straightforward process, but often when we say things like that, things go wrong, but we'll see. So I've got Clonezilla started, it's booting off a USB stick, and now I'm at the point where I can choose the mode that I want to use. Sorry for the slightly cockeyed camera angle, but that's the best I can do really. So I'm looking at a device-to-device copy, so I work directly from a disk-op partition to a disk-op or partition. So I'll load that up. Beginner mode is fine for what I'm doing, don't need to do anything fancy. And it's disk to local disk, because I'm cloning an entire disk to another entire disk. Just let that load. So, first of all, you pick the source drive. So to local disk as source, this name is device name, blah, blah, blah. So I know that my source drive is the small Kingston SSD that I was previously using as a system disk. So find that one, pick it. Incidentally, you can see the new 6 terabyte drives have been detected. And then the destination drive, which is also the target. That's my new SSD, which is significantly bigger. It's quite hard to buy a 60 gigabyte SSD new, probably impossible actually. So all the data on this drive will be replaced, where it's brand new out of the container, so there's nothing to worry about there. So I'm pretty sure there isn't anything wrong with this disk as it is, so I'm going to skip checking. I've had no errors, no warnings or anything like that. This is just prudence rather than necessity, so I can skip that. And I'm going to choose whether to reboot or shut down when everything is finished. Okay, press enter to continue. So this is a summary, so it should tell me exactly what I'm going to do. Warning, all the data on hard disk will be overwritten, all existing will be lost on my 240 gigabyte Western Digital SSD. That is fine. And it is just making sure. I do want to clone the bootloader, so I'd like this drive to be bootable. And that looks like it is getting away fine. So at this point I expect this probably won't take very long, but it won't be particularly interesting. So it's done its calculation, and let's see, just see if it gets underway. That was the first partition. The next one, I believe, is slightly larger, but it's going quite quickly. So I'll leave that there, and hopefully next time I get back to you will be at the point where I've booted the system up with the new drive. So this is moment of truth time. Here is the old system drive. Let's see if it boots. I may have to adjust the BIOS to boot off the new drive because I fiddled with it a bit to get it to boot off a USB, but it might just work. So this will hopefully show all of the data drives, including the two 6TB drives, and the old system drive has obviously been removed, which was attached to this as well. Which it does. So 4TB to 6TB. And we get a boot splash, and will it boot? Oh, promising. Very brief set of, this is usual kind of, there's a failed thing there, but that was there before. I need to check what that was. It seemed to appear when I upgraded to Debian 10. It's probably nothing very important. So let's try and log in. And that all looks pretty good. So I'll just open up. My mouse is underneath the camera, which is not the best place for a mouse. Yeah, so it's cloned. You can see 6TB drives have been mounted, but the original root is now SDG5, and it's the same size. But hopefully in a minute I'll be able to grow that. I might have to activate the display for the root, but we'll see. Yeah, it'll do. Okay, that's easy enough. Oops. Seems to be a new precaution that Debian has. I don't know if that's standard, but anyway. Oh, whoops. One more action. There we go. Right. That becomes a couple of unrecognised disk labels on there, which is not a big issue really, as long as they're all mounting correctly. So I've got my two new drives here, and then the old ones. In fact, it's E and F, which have got the unrecognised disk labels, which is fine, they're brand new. We can ignore that. So here, we should now be able to resize this partition. And that's interesting. Because it's on an extended, that might be a bit trickier. Okay, I might have to do a bit of work on this. The reason why it's extended is actually, I'm not entirely sure. I don't really remember why that was the case. It must have been something to do with how it was set up. Maybe I have to extend this first. but that might require using a boot disk. Okay, well, we'll leave this for now, and I'll let you know what I did. So we're back on the worst possible camera angle ever, but it doesn't matter too much. So I booted a Debian Live CD and gone into gparted, and I've done that because I think with it being an extended partition, I can't resize it when it's mounted, which is for good reason. So I can have a go in here instead. So I'm going to have a look at this resize and move, and yeah, it's not going to let me do it in there. So first thing I'm going to do is resize this. So scroll all the way over. And then next thing I'm going to do is now resize this. That's much better. To use the available space. So there's the boot partition, and I've got this extended partition here, small swap partition. The server doesn't get heavy load, so it doesn't need a lot of swap. And then what will be an extended root partition. So if I hit apply. So the advantage of cloning a drive is that I still have this drive. So if I completely mangle this, I can have another go. But this should be fine. This is a relatively safe operation these days. So that looks like it was done successfully, and it's all been verified. So now I can drop out of this Debian Live CD. I quite like this actually. It's got a slightly different setup to my desktop, but as a live CD it works very well. And interestingly, that X host thing had to be done here as well, so it must be a sort of a new security feature for Debian, which is fine. It's nothing that's too difficult to work around. Numbers of times I launch something from root that requires display is pretty rare. So hopefully now, if I just reboot this, it should come up with the new system. Let's get ready to take the live disk out, USB disk out. Okay, take that out. I found that having Debian as a live USB is more stable than Ubuntu. I've had weird lockups with Ubuntu Live things, and I don't understand why. But Debian seems to be much more reliable. Could be something peculiar about my systems. That's promising. Getting to a boot screen. Then I'll get that failure again, which I'm going to have to check out, and we'll have a look at that. Log in. Oops. And yep, there you can see, so there's root, and it's grown to 213 gigabytes. If you do free, hopefully the swap will show up. There it is. And everything else is the same as it used to be. So now I just need to get those 6 terabyte drives installed, but I'm going to put the server back where it belongs, put the side panels back on, etc. Maybe give it a bit of a clean. And yeah, that worked pretty well. So that's how you clone a system drive. Minimal fuss using Clonezilla, which is free and available on the internet. I'll put a link in the notes below. Easy. Glad it worked well. Can get this system back up and running with a fresh system drive that I don't have to worry about failing. Okay, until next time, see you later.